I want to say welcome you at my house. Nice to see you both. My name is Namatullah Jawri, and I come newly from Afghanistan.
Since their arrival in Sacramento, Namat, his wife, and their 6 children reside in 2 neighboring one-bedroom apartments in Del Paso Heights. And while we offered to hide his identity, Namat wanted to show his face on camera when telling his story, a rarity for recently arrived refugees, as they're often concerned about retaliation from the Taliban back in Afghanistan, seeing them talk with American journalists.
I seek the truth, not for just me. I try to be a voice for them, to concern the people for them in Afghanistan, what's happening over there.
As he shares his journey, shrieks of laughter echo from his and other refugee children playing in the courtyard. But his story starts on a much more somber day for their family.
Fear and pandemonium outside Kabul airport as thousands of desperate Afghans try to leave.
And among them was Namat and his family.
It was the hardest night of my life.
But unlike thousands of others, Namat had a ticket and a visa to the United States, one his family requested in 2015 when he worked helping U.S. troops. After 6 years, the visa was granted almost in unison with the Taliban takeover.
نظامی‌های آمریکا این طرف می‌دویدن. باز ما از اونا پرسان کردیم که چی گپ است. باز گفتن که طالبان آمدن. خب وقتی که ما بیرون رفتیم، ویزای ما را گرفتیم وقتی که ما بیرون رفتیم.
But with the chaos, their flight was canceled. His family and him were forced to remain outside the airport for days on end with thousands of others.
بیش از 7,000 نفر یا از او بیشتر اونجا نفر بود و خب وقتی که صبح ساعتای تقریبا 6 بجه یا 7 بجه صبح وقتی که ما پیش می رفتیم اونا از پشت سر ما می آمد. خب تیله خیلی زیاد می شد. ما پایلوچ سرملوچ چادرم گم شده بود و یک بوتم در پایم بود، یک پایم بود یک دانش نبود. وقتی که پدرم بیرون رفتن، پدرم اجازه ندادن که دوباره داخل شوند. خب ما 4 شب ما در میدان هوایی بودیم. خب در میدان هوایی که ما وقتی که داخل شدیم اونجا افته خیلی زیاد بود، سایه نبود. ما متاسفانه جلد ما بسیار خراب شده بود و پایم لوچ بود. خب کرمش نداشتم. شبش بسیار خنک بود و روزش بسیار گرم بود.
It was so chaotic, his family was separated in the mob, resulting in them departing on separate flights that left on different days.
I hopefully my small daughter were alive. When I saw them that they were alive, I had cried a lot.
Namat on an Air Force plane that took off a day before the Kabul airport was bombed.
So I cried a lot. I left my beloved country over there. So I love my country very much. So unfortunately, I couldn't do anything for Afghanistan.
Were you given a choice of where you wanted to go in America?
Yes, I chose California.
He's not alone.
Sacramento is the #1 destination that many of these refugees want to come to.
According to U.S. Census figures, as of 2019, 1 out of every 9 Afghans living in the U.S. were based around California's capital city. And that number may go up as many refugees try to flee amid the Taliban's swift takeover. And many want to come to an area that's already established with friends, family, and a culture that they're familiar with.
Knowing that Sacramento County has one of the largest Afghan refugee populations in the country, if not the largest, we knew early on as President Biden made the decision to withdraw from Afghanistan, we'd have to be receiving a number of these folks.
He said Sacramento received 40% of the initial group of refugees that came to America from Afghanistan during the months the U.S. troops withdrew. Opening our doors to refugees is nothing new for the capital city.
It goes back to the Vietnam War. A lot of Vietnamese refugees, but also the Hmong and Mien population that assisted our troops during the Vietnam War.
But with our current housing crisis, skyrocketing rent, and displaced wildfire victims, the State Department decided to place a hold on bringing more refugees to the Sacramento region.
Right now, the State Department's put a moratorium on sending new folks to Sacramento unless they already have a family or a relative here that can house them. And part of that is we were just getting overwhelmed with finding adequate housing.
Representative Berra says he's having conversations with the State Department about the moratorium and imagines it will get lifted at some point, but didn't provide a specific timeline. He said it's instrumental in getting those that helped our troops here, as they're now especially vulnerable to the Taliban.
Because the Taliban know who many of these folks are. They supported our troops. They worked in the Afghan government to bring women's rights and create a more democratic country. They are at risk to the Taliban, and that's why it is some of the strongest advocates are the Afghan refugees that are here in our community, saying, do everything you can to get these folks to safety.
For Sahar, she worries especially for the woman.
و آرزو دارم که طالبا یعنی دخترها را نگویند که شما به اصطلاح کار انجام نتین و از اینکه اینجا هستم بسیار خوش هستم و آرزو میکنم که همه به آرزوهایشان برسند.
She said her message to the Taliban is to let young girls and women continue their education and have rights, something the Taliban has severely restricted in the past.
اینا خواهش میکنم که بار این دخترها درسای خود بخوانن. خیلی ها آرزو دارن که پیشرفت کنن